A woman with golden hair greeted Lord Alan, saying it had been a while. She asked what he could possibly want with the fiancé he had ignored for 10 whole years. She added that she did not see how he could even show his face there. She told him that even if he came to sweet-talk her, he was way too late. With a useless man like him, she declared that she would be the one dumping him. At the Royal Palace Ceremony Hall 1 month earlier, an official called for everyone to be quiet and announced that the coming-of-age ceremony would now begin. Those whose names were called were to come forward and receive the sacred wine before the deity. The name called was Latia Blanche. She responded to her father and stepped forward. Onlookers remarked that Lady Latia was as beautiful as ever. They noted she received proposals constantly. Her family, her grace, everything about her was perfect. However, it did not matter since she was already engaged to the captain of the royal guard. In this kingdom's coming-of-age ceremony, you drank sacred wine the year you turned 18. Once you did, you were recognized as an adult and could marry. Latia was told to take a sip of the sacred wine. She noted that you could not drink before this day, so it was her first time. Latia took a gulp and remarked on what alcohol tasted like. Suddenly she collapsed. People cried out her name in shock and called for someone to get a doctor quickly. Someone reported that there was nothing wrong with her, and that she just wanted to be left alone for a while. Latia asked herself what had happened to her. She noted her golden hair and blue-green eyes. Her name was Latia Blanche, the only daughter of a marquise's house, and her fiancé was the captain of the royal guard. There was no doubt about it. She realized she was inside the game, a shop management otome game called Shopgirl Heart-Pounding Life. She recalled that in her past life she had just barely graduated from college despite her illness, got a job and then collapsed. Her past life memories had come back during the ceremony. She realized that Latia Blanche was the villainess who got in the heroine's way. A bird on the windowsill spoke to her, telling her she could now finally do her job as the villainess. Lei was shocked that the bird had just talked. She recognized the bird as the dove navigator that saved her when she got a game over. The bird corrected her, insisting it was a Java sparrow. The bird explained that since Latia was not fulfilling her role, the world was full of bugs and it was a huge pain. Latia confirmed to herself that it really was inside the game. She asked what kind of bugs. The bird said they were minor for now, but eventually the kingdom would get wiped out. Latia could not believe something that big could happen just because of her. The bird said it could not blame her for not believing and offered to show her. The bird showed Latia a vision. She was shocked by what she saw: civil war, relations with neighboring countries collapsing, herself taken prisoner, her mother and father taken prisoner. She also saw Latia's fiancé, the captain of the royal guard, Lord Alan. The bird told her this was the only bad ending in the game. If she did not commit to her role, this was inevitable. The bird started to tell her that if she wanted to save everyone, she needed to shut up and do what it said, but before it could finish, Latia cut in and agreed to do it. Latia thought about her family, the people of the kingdom, and her favorite character, Lord Alan, and said she wanted to save them all. She declared that villainous Latia Blanche would do her very best. The bird, surprised, praised her spirit. It told her that first things first, they needed to fix her overly nice tone. It handed her a manual and told her to memorize it. Latia agreed, calling it Mr. Dove. The bird protested that it was not a dove. Lydia's arrival was announced at a party. A man with flowers approached, and onlookers noted he was the one they called Frog, proposing to Lady Lydia again. They remarked he had some nerve going after someone who was already engaged. Frog asked Lydia to please give him a good answer today. Lydia appeared in a flashy dark dress with the bird on her shoulder. People whispered, asking if she had always been that flashy. Someone said she always stood out, but she used to have more elegance. They also noticed the crow on her shoulder. Frog greeted Latia, saying she looked different than usual but was as beautiful as ever. He asked her to accept his roses and let him stay by her side. Latia told him that he honestly thought a cheap flower like that made him a match for her. She told him his jokes were getting ridiculous and to know his place and to take a good long look at himself in the mirror. She then told him not to come any closer. A girl nearby reacted with surprise. Latia pointed at the girl and told Frog to look, saying there was a commoner girl just like him and that the two of them were perfect for each other. She asked whether dull little flowers should go with dull little flowers. Frog called out the girl's name, Karina. Latia told him that the flower that had been blooming by his side all this time was that girl. The girl protested that the flower did not suit someone like Latia, and told Frog that if it were her she would never make him cry. Frog said Karina's name again. Latia noted to herself that Frog and Karina should already be engaged by now, since they were the ones who helped the heroine. She considered her villainous debut successful, and thought that now Frog had given up on her, that was one thing back on track. She noted that all her practice insulting people had paid off, though the bird told her she was still way too soft. People around her wondered what had happened to Lady Latia, saying she was like a completely different person. One person remarked that if Lord Alan saw her like this, he would be crushed. The bird told Latia that Alan would be back any minute, so she needed to make sure he really hated her since smooth breakups were key. Breaking off the engagement with the villainess was a mandatory event. Latia told herself she had to pull this off. The setting was the Kingdom of Kyo, located in a far-off foreign land. Prince Cyrus, former prince of the kingdom of Cantiana, complained that he had spent 10 whole years training abroad for a so-called national tradition, and asked to be forgiven for taking one day to sightsee before heading back. Alan Corks, captain of the Royal Guard, flatly told him no. He informed the prince that in 3 weeks there would be a parade to celebrate his return. Cyrus protested that the parades went on for a month without anyone even caring whether the prince showed up, so what difference would one day make? Alan said there was a problem. Cyrus suggested that Latia had probably forgotten all about Alan by now. Alan firmly said no, and stated that Latia was not that kind of woman. He said his fiancée was waiting for him to come home. He added that he would be away from the kingdom on duty for a while, and told Cyrus that if waiting for him was too much, Latia should take someone else as her fiancé. Latia had told him no, to let her wait. She said that while Alan was gone she would work hard to become a lady worthy of him. She told him she was looking forward to the day they met again. Prince Cyrus gave in, saying Alan won. He acknowledged Alan had done his duty well and granted him this one request. He told Alan to make preparations to return at once and to tell the others. Alan thanked him. Cyrus's attendant remarked that it must be nice having someone waiting for you. Alan thought of Lita seriously and said to himself that he could not wait to see her. At the party, the king thanked everyone for coming and announced that his son Cyrus was finally returning to the kingdom after many long years of training abroad. He hoped everyone would see for themselves how splendidly the prince had grown. Latia was looking around restlessly. The bird asked what was wrong. Latia explained that in the game the prince was already back when it started, so getting to actually see this happen was exciting. The bird told her not to just stand there enjoying the show and reminded her that today was the big day. The prince was announced and arrived alongside Lord Alan. The bird told Lydia that Alan was back and that this was the main event. Lydia noticed Lord Alan and thought about how he was dutiful, quiet, and a bit cold, but she had loved the way he slowly opened up over time. The bird explained that the real show started after this party. Once Alan was done guarding the prince, he should at least come say hello, and that was when Lydia was to give him the full Villainess performance. The bird reminded her that their rocky relationship was a basic premise of the game. Lydia resolved that for the kingdom and for Alan she would make sure he hated her. But Alan arrived early, surprising Lydia. The bird pointed out that he was supposed to still be on duty as a bodyguard and that this was not supposed to happen until after the party. It told Lydia not to freeze up and to say her lines. Alan called out Lydia's name. Lydia launched into her act with a dramatic laugh, greeting Alan and saying it had been quite some time. She asked what he could possibly want with the fiancé he had ignored for 10 whole years. She told him that even if he came to sweet-talk her, he was way too late, and that with a useless man like him she would be the one dumping him. Alan said her name softly and told her he had missed her. He embraced her. Lydia was stunned. The bird panicked, recognizing that this was the route where the country falls. Lydia wondered why Alan was acting the way he was. The bird told her it was not the time to panic and that her reason for coming today was to make them hate her. Lydia told Alan to quit acting all friendly. She told him to stop acting as if he were still her fiancé. Alan asked what she had just said. He said he did not know what had gotten her all worked up, but told her to stop. The bird flew away in alarm. Lydia told Alan she was only there to celebrate his highness and that she had nothing to do with Alan. She asked if he really thought she would waste her time waiting for someone like him. She called him a child and told him it was time to get over himself. Alan asked if she was really Latia. She asked if he could even hear himself talk and what he was talking about. Latia excused herself and told a servant to bring the carriage around. She said she was done there. Alan stood in silence as the crowd murmured around him. He demanded to know what the meaning of this was. Latia sighed and supposed she had achieved what she wanted. She wondered if Alan had always been like that. The bird asked why she was getting all flustered. Latia stammered that it was her first time seeing him since she got her memories back, and she never thought he would actually act like that. The bird pointed out that it had been 10 years and it had figured Alan would have already moved on from her, but apparently he had not. It remarked that it was too much for her. The bird said that to think she already had Alan wrapped around her finger as a child, she was quite something. Lydia insisted she had not done anything like that. The bird told her she had done good and was sure she had destroyed his feelings. It said to wait and see what happened. Latia agreed that this way they should be able to break off the engagement without any trouble. She thought to herself that Alan had cared about her that much. She apologized to Lord Alan quietly. Alan returned to headquarters in a visibly bad mood. A subordinate welcomed him back and carefully asked how the party was. Prince Cyrus noted that Alan was angry but said he could not blame him. Alan thought to himself that there was no doubt she was the Lydia Blanche he knew, but she was nothing like how he remembered. He wondered what had happened in the 10 years he was gone. He recalled young Lydia telling him she would be waiting. He refused to believe that those words were lies, even though they had been just kids back then. A subordinate came in and reported that they had finished asking around, just as Alan had requested. Alan thanked him and apologized for bothering him while he was on patrol duty. The subordinate reported that everyone had pretty much said the same thing. For the past few years, Lady Latia had been perfectly normal, but after her coming-of-age ceremony she started acting strange. They said the sweet girl she used to be was gone, and that it was like she was a completely different person. Even her parents were worried sick. Alan noted that it started at the coming-of-age ceremony. He said the priest must know something. The subordinate asked if they should go see the priest right now. Alan said no and that he would handle it himself. Latia was out in the town acting as a villainess, laughing loudly and mocking a man who had proposed to her. She told him that marriage with someone like him was laughable and that she was not interested in someone who could not even get a simple promotion. Onlookers confirmed that the rumors about Lady Latia changing were true. One person said they had kind of looked up to her, but she was nothing like she used to be. Latia told the man to forget it and said there were plenty of better women out there. She walked away and the bird confirmed she was doing well. Latia said the whole thing was exhausting, but she thought she was starting to get used to it. The bird was not sure if that was something to celebrate. The bird asked how many guys she had shot down by that point. Latia said she had stopped counting halfway through the day. She complained that even so she was way too popular. The bird told her it was because she was such a knockout. Latia said that being a villainess was rough, but it was for the kingdom's future, so it was nothing. Someone told Latia she was too careless being out alone without an escort. Alan appeared and called her his fiancé and his beloved, greeting her good afternoon. Latia was caught off guard and greeted him back. She asked how he could say something that cheesy with a straight face. Alan replied that he did not say things he did not mean. Alan brought up that Latia had turned him down the other day, and asked if she was interested in guys who could make captain of the knights since he was exactly what she was looking for. Latia panicked because he had heard what she said to the man she rejected. She insisted she had only said that to make the other guy give up. The bird whispered that this was going nowhere and called Alan a stubborn bastard. It told Latia it was time for Plan B. Latia asked what Plan B was. The bird told her it was the clingy over-the-top seductress approach. Latia said she really did not want to use that one, but the bird told her it was not the time to complain and that it should work on a guy like Alan. Latia found the whole thing humiliating. Latia clung to Alan's arm and asked if he just could not give up on her. Alan told her to let go. Latia thought his feelings were definitely fading and that if she kept pushing it might just work. She told herself she knew he was not the type who would enjoy this. Alan said her name. Latia looked up at him. He told her that the day she collapsed he had gone to the priest to ask what exactly had happened. The priest had declared that Latia was a goddess. Alan asked if she was aware of the rumors that she was a villainess. He said he was well aware of those rumors. The priest had told Alan that he had been arrested for murder one day and was already preparing for the worst. But then Lady Latia had come to save him. She had stormed in asking how they could charge him with murder when the supposed victim was right there, alive and well. She had shouted that it was ridiculous and asked if the authorities did not have anything better to do. The priest was released right after. The priest had declared that Latia was no villainess and that she had her reasons. That was how passionately the priest had defended Latia. Latia panicked and trembled. Alan told her he already knew something was off with her. Latia realized he knew. Alan told her he did not know what she was thinking, but he was going to find out. He said he would get back his beloved fiancée, her back to normal. The bird panicked, saying this was bad. It warned that as long as Alan would not give up on Latia, they were headed straight for disaster. Latia stared at Alan as he said her name. She recalled the bird's warning that if she did not commit to her role, the country would fall. Alan suddenly picked her up and carried her off. Latia screamed at him to let go, calling him a kidnapper and a pervert. She yelled for somebody to help. Bystanders noticed the scream and wondered if it was a kidnapper. Latia kicked at Alan and pointed out that people were starting to look. She shouted that she had no idea what he was talking about with the pretending to be a villainous stuff. She told him that if he had the nerve to grab her like this, he should learn how to treat a lady first. Latia yelled for him to excuse her and stormed off to her carriage. She could not believe things had spiraled this far. Alan watched her leave. Inside the carriage, Latia sighed and said she could not believe Alan had seen through her act. Instead of backing off, he was even more obsessed with her. She thought it made no sense, since in the game their engagement was purely political. Even if this world's Latia had feelings for him, there was no reason he would be this into her. The bird wondered why his affection gauge was so ridiculously high. Latia asked if this was the bird's fault. The bird told her to forget it. The bird said there was a party next week to celebrate Alan's return. It told Latia to use it as a public stage to ruin her image. She was to make a scene in front of his relatives and make him understand she was a true villainess. The bird explained that even if Alan knew she was putting on an act, it did not matter at this point. If his affection was too high, the bird would just crush it. Latia understood. She said she did feel bad for Lord Alan, but she could not afford to quit her role. Rumors about Latia had spread. People asked if others had heard about Lord Alan's fiancée, Lady Latia. They said she played with men and discarded them like toys. They pitied Alan for returning safely from his mission only to be welcomed by a fiancé like that. One person said they had thought she was wonderful, but it seemed her true nature was finally showing. Latia overheard the gossip and could feel her reputation plummeting by the second. At the party, Latia arrived on the arm of another man. She noted that with all eyes on her, this was her chance to make sure Alan was completely sick of her. She told herself not to falter or Alan would pounce, and to stay confident. She spotted Alan and called out to him. Alan noticed her and addressed her as Lady Latia. Alan's parents confronted Latia. asking her to explain why she had arrived at a celebration for Alan on another man's arm. His father told Alan that if Latia was truly his fiancée, he should be capable of keeping her in line. He said her behavior reflected poorly on the knightly order as a whole. His mother added that Alan's sullen attitude was also a problem. Latia apologized and said it was not the man's fault. She saw this as her chance. She declared that it was exactly the point. Why would she stay loyal to someone so cold and distant? Alan's father began to speak, but Alan cut in. He said the fault lay with him, for leaving such a beautiful lady alone. He apologized to Latia and pulled her close. He said from now on he would personally escort her to every event. The bird warned Latia that if this continued, Alan would seize control of the conversation, so she needed to escalate. Latia threw her drink on Alan and told him not to touch her so casually. She told him not to assume that being her fiancé gave him the right to control her life. She said she was not a child and was perfectly capable of attending a party on her own. Bystanders murmured that the rumors really were true. Alan reached for her hand. He asked her not to be angry. He told her she must have been terribly lonely while he was gone and that she did not have to endure it anymore since he would stay by her side from now on. The crowd reacted with surprise, saying that Letia's outbursts were just love in disguise and that of course 10 years apart would strain any engagement. Latia could not believe what was happening with this man. No matter how many times she pushed him away, he just came right back. The bird said it was bad and that Alan was serious. It told Latia that if she understood that much, she should help already. 3 girls called out to Latia. Latia recognized them as Alan's relatives. In the game, they were nothing but nuisance characters, the classic obstacles between the heroine and her love. But right now, Latia actually wanted someone to get in between them. She greeted the 3 girls and told them that if they had complaints about her, they should not hold back. The 3 girls asked what was wrong with her and called her sister. They said all the awful rumors and everything they had seen that day sounded nothing like her. They begged her to tell them if something was bothering her. The girls clung to Latia, crying. Latia recalled that during the 10 years Alan was away, she had had tea with these girls now and then, and somewhere along the way they had grown attached to her. The girls turned on Alan and told him it was his fault. They said he had left Lady Latia all alone without so much as a letter. Alan explained that while on escort duty it was customary not to contact even their own family, and that Latia had agreed to that before he left. The girls said that was no wonder she started acting strangely out of loneliness. Latia said no. She said she could not forgive it. She said being apart had made something very clear to her, that being engaged to the captain of the knights was nothing but suffering. She told Alan not to dare joke about her being lonely, not even as an excuse. The bird noticed there were too many eyes watching. Alan grabbed Latia again. She protested that this was happening again. He told his relatives he was stepping out and to cover for them however they liked. The girls eagerly agreed and told the 2 to talk things through. Latia yelled at Alan to let go of her. He told her to calm down and that she could scream all she wanted out there, but no one was coming. The bird called out to Latia. Latia recalled that Alan Corks, captain of the Royal Guard, was a character defined by duty and severity. She protested that this was the kind of character he was supposed to be. In the game, his interactions with the heroine would slowly open up his rigid heart. The iron mask people mocked him for would crack, revealing awkward smiles. And though confused by love, he would still choose to embrace it. Latia told Alan that dragging a woman into his bedroom without consent was shameless. Alan replied that playing tough with him was pointless, and reminded her that she was the woman who once doused a man with wine in public. Alan demanded that Latia tell him what had happened. Latia said this was her problem and that she had nothing to say to someone who was only her fiancé. Alan said very well. He pushed her down onto the bed and told her they should seal their bond right there and then. Alan called out Latia's name as he held her close. Latia was shocked and stammered, asking him to wait. She couldn't believe what was happening and questioned why he was this obsessed with a woman he hadn't seen in 10 years. Alan asked if the reason wasn't obvious, telling Latia that she was the one who changed him. He remembered being introduced to Lady Latia, the only daughter of Marquis Blanche. He was told that she would be his fiancée. Alan recalled how his father had told him about the engagement. Alan had pointed out that the following month he would be escorting the prince and leaving the kingdom for years, and questioned why he needed to be engaged on top of that. His father replied that whether now or later made no difference, since Latia would come of age in 10 years. Alan admitted to himself that his father wasn't wrong. Alan's path had always been decided for him as the eldest son of House Corks. Join the knights, leave the kingdom for a decade, return and serve as captain of the Royal Guard. Alan thought that if his father said this was right, then it probably was. He accepted and said very well. His father was glad that Alan understood and said that now Latia could devote herself to her bridal education. He then told Alan he would leave Lady Latia in his care. Alan's father asked if someone would tell him about the recent southern campaign, and stepped away to have a maid bring tea, telling them to wait a moment. Alan looked at the tiny girl and thought to himself that she was his fiancée. Latia called out to Alan. Both of them stared at each other. Latia told Alan that he had just looked unhappy about all of this, and asked if she should ask them to call off the engagement. She said that if she spoke to her father herself, she thought he would listen. Latia told Alan that he should choose what he wanted, and that he didn't have to live his life just doing as he was told. Alan was caught off guard and wondered what she was even saying. He knew that no one questions an arranged marriage, and that it wasn't something they could simply refuse. He thought she spoke so lightly only because she was a child. Latia's words made Alan think. He had always assumed he would follow the same life as his father. He wondered if he was the only one being forced into this. Alan then said that maybe he should give it all up, the engagement, the nights, and live however he pleased. Latia exclaimed that that was wonderful, saying that wanting something for yourself was precious. Alan was taken aback. Latia listed off possibilities: a swordsman, an adventurer, a musician, a trader, saying there was a whole world of paths out there. She asked him what kind of man he would become. Alan said that realistically he would become captain of the Royal Guard, and that even if the path was already decided, he didn't really mind. Latia said she couldn't wait to see it. Alan thought to himself that this one thing he could never let go of. He recalled how Latia's freedom changed the way he saw the world. He asked her if she had dreams. She said yes, so many. That was the moment he decided he would make her his fiancée no matter what. Back in the present, Latia told Alan that if he loved her for being free, then why was he trying to cage her now? Alan started to reply but then stopped. Latia pulled herself free from his grasp. Alan stared at her silently. Alan apologized for grabbing her too roughly. He told her that once she calmed down she could return to the hall, but that he was not letting her go. He then walked away. Latia asked if he wasn't some kind of monster in disguise. Alan turned back and called her name. Latia flinched with her heart racing. Latia called out to her bird companion, Birdie. She apologized, saying that it really did look like she had led Alan on as a child. She said she knew it. Birdie asked what happened and what she knew exactly. Latia said that making Lord Alan give up on her might be harder than she thought and wondered what she was going to do. Latia declared that she would support the heroine with everything she had. In the official story, the ceremony happened after the prince returned. The task involved gathering a rare flower that bloomed for only 1 week deep in a forest only the chosen could enter. On the way, both the prince and Alan would be poisoned by a monster, and the heroine, a shopkeeper's daughter, would appear. Latia said there was a branching route and she would make sure it led to Alan. Birdie told her to hold on a second and asked why she was cheering for the heroine when she was supposed to be trying to make Alan hate her. Birdie pointed out that it would be better if Alan loved someone else more. Lydia agreed but said she would commit to being the heroine's supporting cast. She admitted that Lord Alan's intensity was overwhelming, and if things continued she would lose her resolve. Birdie muttered that it was easier said than done. Latia, Alan, and the prince traveled on horseback through the forest. The prince confirmed the flower should be just up ahead. Alan said yes. The prince warned that some of the monsters in the area were poisonous and told them to stay alert. Latia noted to herself that the heroine hadn't arrived yet. Latia explained her plan to Birdie. She was waiting there to support the heroine so that the heroine would end up on Lord Alan's route. If necessary, she would intervene so the heroine wouldn't get too close to the prince. Latia then shouted to warn the prince that something was behind him. A bale tiger appeared. The prince identified it and warned that its claws and fangs were venomous. Alan said he knew. Latia recognized that the event was starting and that everything was going according to the scenario so far. The prince failed to dodge the first strike and suffered a shallow wound. Alan shielded him and took a hit as well. Alan then killed the monster. Latia was stunned by how strong he was, noting that he wasn't supposed to escape unharmed. The prince told Alan to let him see his wound. Alan said it was nothing serious. Latia looked around for the heroine, who was supposed to appear and heal them with medicinal herbs. But the heroine should have emerged from the bushes by now. Latia looked around frantically. The heroine was not there. Latia was shocked. The prince said they had to return to the castle at once. Alan mentioned the ceremony, but the prince insisted that if the poison spread, there would be no ceremony at all. A girl with a braid and a basket appeared in the distance. Latia suddenly appeared before the prince and Alan, calling out to them. Alan was stunned and asked why she was there. Latia claimed it was just a coincidence and that she happened to be passing by. Birdie remarked that it was the worst excuse imaginable. Latia acted surprised at seeing the dead bale tiger and said that a certain herb's sap could neutralize its poison completely. She applied it to their wounds. The prince praised her, saying she was very knowledgeable and that she had saved them. Latia felt guilty, thinking that his sincerity hurt her conscience. Alan asked suspiciously why she was there. Latia noticed that Alan was already suspicious of her. She internally scolded herself, thinking that this was supposed to be the heroine's event, and told herself to stop stealing the heroine's spotlight. Latia said that the first aid should cover things for now, but suggested they brew some medicine too just to be safe. The prince was impressed and noted that she had even brought medicine-making tools. Alan pointed out that she was awfully prepared for someone who was just passing by. Latia jolted at this. Latia claimed she had been dabbling in herbal medicine lately and that she had only gotten hooked on it recently. Alan remarked that it was new. He sighed and asked if she could make the medicine there. Latia thought to herself that there was nothing more she could do at that location. She recalled that in the game they go to the heroine's house after this event and that was where the medicine was made. She started to say something. A girl appeared and asked if someone was suffering from poison, saying she knew a little about medicine and offering to help. Latia was startled and thought that she was here. Latia immediately realized this girl was not the heroine she expected. The prince told the girl that only the royal family and their attendants were allowed on the sacred ground and asked who she was. The girl apologized, saying she didn't realize it was sacred ground and that she only came because her daughter insisted. The woman introduced the girl as Azami. Alan told the girl to go ahead and say hello. Letia was confused by the name Azami. She recalled that in the game, if no name was entered for the heroine, the default name used was Azami. She realized this was the official heroine appearance. A girl called Azami. She was shocked that the heroine was a child. He said to take it easy, and that there was no need to get so tense. She said that if the girl knew what she was doing, they should let her take a look. Alan protested, but Letia pointed out that she had already handled the first aid, but there could still be poison in their system. The girl's mother said that a simple draft should flush it out. Azami told her mother they could make it at home. Alan looked at them seriously. Alan told the prince to return to the castle immediately, saying he had stationed men at the forest entrance. The prince told Letia she should accompany him. Alan said he would retrieve the medicine. Azami tried to say something but was cut off. Letia declared that she would go too. Alan asked if Azami's home was nearby. She said yes, just up ahead. They set off. Azami thanked them and said she was happy to help. Letia walked along, lost in thought. She wondered to herself why the heroine was a kid. Letia exclaimed that she knew it. Bertie asked what happened and what exactly she knew. Bertie told Letia to stop relying on the heroine and to stick to being the villainess. Letia pointed out that if they waited 10 years, Azami would be the right age. Bertie asked if she was planning to stall for 10 whole years, saying the country would be gone by then. Letia groaned. Alan asked if Letia was alright and said he could still call for the carriage. She told him she was fine. Letia recalled that in Alan's route she was pretty sure they stayed for tea at the heroine's house. She told Alan she was tired and wanted to rest for a bit. Alan told Letia that this was exactly why he had told her to return with the prince. Azami told them not to worry and that they were so loud. She prepared tea and told them to make themselves comfortable. Letia thought that this hospitality matched what she remembered from the game. She confirmed to herself that Azami really was the heroine. Azami smiled cheerfully, and Letia thought she was adorable. Bertie warned her to be careful, saying her villainous mask was slipping. Letia protested that she couldn't play the villain against a kid. Bertie said that softness was exactly her weakness. Azami's mother remarked that when she looked at Letia and Alan together with Azami between them, they looked just like parent and child. Alan commented that apparently they looked good together, like a real family. Letia panicked internally, thinking this was bad and that she didn't like where things were going. She told him not to get carried away. Alan asked Letia if she was embarrassed. She shouted that she was not, insisting that any man and woman with a child between them would look like a family. Letia thought Alan was toying with her again. She decided she would help Azami instead. Azami said she was making medicine and offered to help, asking Letia to grab the herbs from the top shelf. Letia said to leave it to her. Letia grabbed 2 bottles and asked if those were the 2 Azami wanted. Azami looked surprised and said Letia had picked them perfectly. She then pointed out that she had never told Letia which herbs to grab. Azami said that one of the vials looked familiar and that she had seen the same kind at home. She explained that her father made them himself, so she didn't think anyone else would have one. Letia cursed to herself, realizing she had recognized the items from the game without thinking. She thought that now she just looked creepy rather than villainous. Azami said there was something else she needed in her room and asked Letia to come with her to get it. Letia agreed, saying she should have everything they needed for the medicine. Alan told Azami not to be a bother to Lady Letia too much. Azami said okay. Letia followed Azami upstairs and noted that the room was exactly the same as in the game. Azami asked what she needed. Azami told Letia that there was no way she was just a normal person. She said that only a player would know that recipe. She admitted she briefly considered that Letia might just be an idiot. Azami then asked Letia directly if she was reincarnated too. Letia was stunned and asked if Azami was like her. Azami said that no normal person would catch that. Both of them exclaimed at the same time. Letia asked why Azami was a child. Azami said she didn't know and that even she had freaked out when her memories came back. Letia asked if Azami had drunk the fruit wine. Azami said she had tried some when she was 6 just because she was curious. Letia said she wasn't supposed to do that. Letia confirmed to herself that the fruit wine really was the trigger that brought back their past life memories. Azami told Letia to never mind that and get to the point. She complained that they had finally reached the start of the main game and there was Letia, someone who shouldn't even be there. She also demanded to know what was going on with Alan. Letia flinched. Azami said she had never seen this happen on any route, and that Alan being crazy about Letia was the absolute worst-case scenario. Letia asked if Azami was actually a pretty hardcore player. Azami replied that she obviously was, saying she had cleared every route and collected every skill. Letia explained her situation, that people said if she ended up with Lord Alan, the country would fall. She said Alan stubbornly refused to hate her. and the heroine she was counting on was still just a little kid. She had thought she was completely out of options, but now she realized Azami was exactly who she needed. Azami declared that she was not quitting as the heroine just because she was a kid, and warned Lydia that if she got in her way she wouldn't hold back. Lydia was confused by the sudden intensity. She grabbed Azami's hand and asked her to wait. Azami told her to let go. Lydia begged Azami to help her make Lord Alan hate her. Azami was completely taken aback. Meanwhile, Alan stood glaring from downstairs, silently urging Lydia to hurry back. Azami repeated Lydia's claim that if she ended up with Alan, the country would fall. She explained that while there was a nation destruction ending in the game, it was the kind of bad end you could only get by deliberately tanking every romance target's affection. It was a hidden ending you had to really go looking for. For it to happen just because Lydia and Alan ended up together seemed strange to her. Lydia thought that maybe that was how much of an anomaly the marriage actually was. She told Azami that was why she wanted her help making Lord Alan hate her. Azami asked if Lydia had hit a kid at least once, since she was calling herself a villainess. Lydia said no, that even she wouldn't hit a child. Azami said how kind of her, and that in that case things worked out perfectly. Alan heard a crash from Azami's room upstairs and called out Lydia's name. He rushed up to find the room with broken pottery and herbs scattered across the floor. Azami was sniffling. Alan asked what happened. Azami explained while glancing at Lydia that Lydia had kept rushing her to make the medicine and she had dropped the vial. Then Lady Lydia had gotten mad and slapped her. Lydia was shocked and blurted out that Azami was pinning it on her. She protested that Azami was the one who had tripped and dropped it, calling her a klutz. She added that making such a fuss over a little smack was why she couldn't stand kids. Azami said she never knew Lady Lydia was so scary. Her eyes started welling with tears as she cried out that it hurt and called for Alan to help her. Lydia stepped on the broken glass and hurt her foot. Alan immediately rushed to her and asked if she was okay. He told her to let him see her foot and asked if she was hurt. Lydia whispered to him that it was an act. Alan stared at her. He then called out to Azami, saying it sounded like the vial had fallen and shattered and that she should get a broom. Azami agreed. Azami said the pain had kind of stopped. Alan told them to let the staff handle the cleanup and that they were going back. Lydia protested about Azami's injury. Alan said to let him see how bad it was first. He told her that her mother had already prepared what they needed. She had said that the first 2 bottles she had pulled from the shelf had all the ingredients. He asked what the story about needing something from Azami's room was really about. She didn't know what to say. Alan told Lydia to come on. She protested that she still had things to discuss with Azami. Alan told her enough and picked her up. Lydia was stunned that this was happening again. She complained that Lord Alan was always scooping her up like this and asked if he thought she was luggage. He said he did not, that it was simply the fastest way. Alan addressed Azami, saying that crying was fine, but if there wasn't even a trace of tears, everyone would know she was faking. He told her to stop flirting with men at her age and that she wouldn't grow into much of an adult that way. He then said they were leaving. Lydia was stunned. She thought that she had finally found her savior, a reincarnator and a veteran player, and Alan was just going to leave like this. Lydia shouted that Azami would pay for this. Alan warned her she would fall off if she kept thrashing like that. Lydia said it was alright and that she could walk home by herself. Azami watched them go and wondered what that was all about. They arrived back at the estate. Lydia's nanny rushed out asking where she had been, saying her shoes and dress were filthy and that they had to get her changed at once. Lydia apologized. Alan said her nanny was so loud and was overreacting. The nanny insisted it was not an overreaction, pointing out that a marquise's daughter had gone out alone without attendants, and to a forest where monsters appeared no less. Lydia admitted to herself that Alan was not wrong, and that on top of everything she had come back covered in dirt, so of course everyone was worried. She turned to Alan and said she could go wherever she pleased. She asked if he was so afraid of being embarrassed by his fiancé that he would rather keep her shut away. She thought to herself that if she said this much, Lord Alan would be disgusted and go home. Alan embraced Lydia from behind. He told her he was just worried about her. Lydia froze. Alan told her that she was doing a worse job hiding it, and that the Lydia he found so dear, the one she used to be, kept slipping through. He said that was why he was not giving up on her. Lydia shouted at him not to start spouting nonsense, insisting she was not anyone but herself. She told him to just go home already. She then apologized to Lord Alan in her thoughts, thinking that she could no longer play dumb in his arms. She had finally found a way to save him in the country, and she was not giving up. A soldier arrived at Azami's house pardoning the intrusion. He confirmed that they were Azami and her parents, and told them they would be coming with him. Lydia apologized to Azami, who was annoyed and asked if they really had to drag her family in like this. Lydia explained that they had ended up drawing attention to Azami and hoped the neighbors wouldn't start gossiping. Azami asked about her parents. Lydia said they were being entertained in another room and told her not to worry. Azami asked why she had been called there. Birdie asked Lydia if she had told Azami everything. Lydia said yes. Azami asked if this was about Lydia wanting her help again. Lydia said she really did need her help, and that if Azami was also reincarnated she should be able to help. Birdie warned Latia not to share too much, saying they didn't know for sure that Azami was on their side, and told her not to feed Azami extra information. Birdie added that she couldn't understand a word he was saying, and to also keep quiet about him originally being a Java sparrow. Azami asked what was with the crow. Latia explained that he was kind of like a fairy that helped her out. Latia formally asked Azami for her help again. She guessed that since Azami wasn't giving up on being the heroine, her goal was romancing her favorite character. Azami said her goal was an adults-only route where she spent her days with every love interest. Latia told her not to say those words with that face. Azami went into detail, describing things that were bleeped out. She explained that it was an all-ages game, so the route didn't actually exist, but once you cleared them, they were basically yours. She asked if Latia understood. Azami then warned Latia that her precious favorite was included in her plans too. Latia was shocked. Azami said good. Latia acknowledged that she knew. Azami said she would help, since she didn't exactly want the country to go up in flames either. Latia was thrilled. Azami explained that she knew how to handle Alan the game character, but the Alan of the present was so obsessed with Latia that he might as well be a different person. She said that even if she had her real body back, she didn't think she could win him over. Latia asked what they should do. Azami said that if Latia really wanted Alan to hate her, she would probably have to kill someone close to him. Latia said that was not an option, and that she just needed him to hate her without hurting anyone. Azami suggested that personally she thought losing one background character to save the country was a fair trade. Latia told her that calling them background characters was awful. Azami said okay, she heard her. Azami told Latia to relax and revealed that there was a way for her to break off the engagement on her own. Latia was impressed, thinking this was what she expected from a veteran player. A few days later, Latia was at a grand ball. She was determined and said she would do it, whatever it took. She thanked Prince Liebel for inviting her. The prince said he should be the one thanking her, and that he never imagined she would come as a prospective bride. The prince called out to her, and Latia stood beside him. She wondered to herself how things had ended up like this. Alan noticed there were a lot more women at the ball than usual. Cyrus asked if he really didn't know, explaining that the ball was just a cover and they were really there to pick a bride for the crown prince. He added that she had heard if the prince liked someone, things like rank and country didn't even matter. Alan remarked that the prince was only there because of that whole setup, but that it was still a party either way. He said that if the prince got the chance, networking was part of his job too. Alan then noticed something and looked confused, saying he looked totally freaked out. He asked Alan what was going on. Alan asked what he meant. Latia recalled Azami's earlier conversation. Azami had asked Latia if she could be the one to break off the engagement herself. Latia said that with how Alan was right now, she didn't think that would even matter. She told Azami she couldn't handle it alone and needed her help. If that was enough to scare Alan off, he would have called it quits right when they reunited. Azami sighed and said she understood. She told Latia to relax, explaining that right now Alan just couldn't let go of his admiration for the Latia from 10 years ago. Azami said that basically Latia just needed a way more dramatic affair. Latia said she had already tried flirting with other guys, but that obviously fake flirting got called out immediately. Azami explained that any guy whose rank was low enough that he ran the second Alan glared at him was useless. They needed someone higher than a marquis, higher than a duke royalty. Latia stammered. Azami explained that by that logic Prince Liebel was perfect, the easiest weakest target. She said his starting affection was ridiculously high and that you could speedrun to marriage doing nothing. He was so easy that if you weren't careful you just fell into his route. Latia worried about whether she would actually end up married if everything went too smoothly. Azami said that Liebel fell in love at the drop of a hat, so in the worst case Latia could just dump him on someone else. Azami told Latia to just go charm him and get it over with. Latia said Azami made it sound way too easy. Azami told her not to play the villain and to just lure him in with sweet innocent charm. Liebel approached Latia and told her the rumors were true, that she really was beautiful. Latia thought to herself that she had no clue how to do any of that. She was just so happy that someone was talking to her like that she didn't know what to do with herself. She thought it was so embarrassing she could die and that there was no way she could keep this up. Latia grabbed a glass of wine. Liebel asked if she was thirsty. She gulped it down, saying it was the country's finest wine and to please take one's time. Liebel called out to her. She kept drinking. He asked if she was sure she should be drinking that much. Latia let out a sigh of relief. Latia called Liebel by name with a smile. Liebel looked slightly flustered. Latia told him that even though they had just met, it didn't feel like the first time, and that maybe it was what they called fate. Liebel was charmed. Birdie remarked that she was completely wasted and wondered if she would even remember the plan. Azami said it wasn't like she could get through to Latia right now and that whatever happened, even if Latia actually married Liebel, it wasn't like she would care. Alan appeared and commented that the two of them seemed to be hitting it off. Azami wondered why he was even there. Alan told them to wait. He wondered to himself what kind of fun scheme Latia had cooked up this time. Liebel told Latia that he was serious, saying that he truly believed he was born just to meet her. Latia said that was a bit much. Liebel said that fate might be right. Alan interrupted, excusing himself and apologizing for interrupting when things were getting good, but asked if he could have a word. Letitia was startled to see Alan. He explained that he had come as the prince's escort and asked what she was doing there. He said that tonight was not the kind of event someone with a fiancé should be at, and told her to go home now. Letitia thought this was bad and that if things continued the whole plan would fall apart. She refused to go home and grabbed onto Liebel, declaring that she was going to marry this man. Prince Liebel stammered that their meeting was fate. Alan told Letitia that this wasn't a game and to stop dragging a foreign prince into her games. Alan addressed Crown Prince Liebel formally, apologizing deeply but told him he had to ask him to give up on Letitia. Liebel and Letitia both flinched. Alan said that his rank was lower than Liebel's and that he didn't have much to offer, but he told Liebel that the one who was going to marry Letitia was him. He said that when it came to how he felt about Letitia he wouldn't lose to anyone. Alan knelt down, took Letia's hand and told her he loved her. He told her not to dare leave his side and asked her to accept his love. The crowd around them stirred. Letitia was flushed and begged him to stop, saying not in front of everyone. Alan told her she was the one who got drunk and started talking crazy. Letitia insisted she was not drunk and that she was the one who wanted him to stop. Liebel told Letitia to cut it out. He then apologized. He turned to a maid who said no, that she should be the one to apologize. Liebel exclaimed that Lady Letitia was supposed to, but he cut himself off. He then asked her name, saying she was nobody, just a servant. Alan replied that rank didn't matter in love. Liebel looked struck by those words. Letia's plan had completely fallen apart. She said she had been trying so hard. She asked Alan why he had to ruin it for her. Alan told her to calm down. Letitia insisted she was calm. The plan was toast. They sat in a carriage together in total silence. Azami thought the situation was unbelievably awkward. Letitia had fallen asleep leaning against Alan. She murmured that he was stupid in her sleep. Alan looked down at her. Alan carried Letitia and said they would have to change tactics. Bertie asked if it was even possible to disappoint him. Azami stared silently. A man with long hair was reading documents somewhere. He remarked that even their kingdom's knight commander had gone soft. Letitia lamented that her plan didn't work again. She had really steeled herself and gone all in this time, but in the end she just woke up asleep in her own bed. The very next day Alan-sama showed up. Alan told Letitia that from now on she was not drinking at all. He said that if he wasn't watching her there was no telling what she would pull, and that if she must drink she should call him first. Azami-san scolded her for getting drunk. Because she had dragged him around too much she was basically under house arrest now. Letitia admitted she was starting to lose confidence in the whole wicked woman thing. She sighed. The crow told her not to dwell on what was already done and suggested they go to the church to clear her head. Letitia agreed, saying she felt like praying to the gods at this point. Letitia entered the church. She noted that she hadn't set foot in a church since she came with her family for worship. Someone remarked that morning service was already over. A priest with glasses told her that if she had come to pray she should feel free and that he was sure God would hear her voice. He then asked if she happened to be Lady Letitia Blanche. Letitia confirmed that she was. Caught off guard, Letitia thought he looked familiar. She recognized him as Darius from the game. She noted that she had only ever cleared Alan-sama's route, so she didn't actually know much about him. She asked him if he knew who she was, and he said yes, as she was quite famous after all. But then he added in a bad way. He told Letitia that people said Lady Letitia Blanche, daughter of a marquis, was a bewitching woman who had the kingdom's knight commander wrapped around her finger. Letitia was shocked. Darius continued, saying there was even an article in the paper about the ball the other day, about a woman who already had a fiancé cozying up to a foreign prince. He called her a corrupt woman who knew nothing about true love. He pointed out that in a country where white birds were worshipped as messengers of God, Letitia, who was always followed by a black bird, was the very image of a witch. Letitia wondered if maybe everything she had been doing up until now was actually working. Darius said he had said too much but added that the people were all hoping for the two of them to break up. He stated that before God he only spoke the truth. Letitia was stunned, wondering if her villainous act was actually working. She thought about how Alan-sama, the prince, and even Azami-san had not seemed affected by it at all. Letitia called Darius a horrible priest for calling someone a witch. She declared that he had ruined her mood and that she was leaving. She stormed off happily while Darius watched her go. Back home, Azami was shocked to hear that Letitia went to church. He asked if she got all buddy-buddy with Darius. Letitia said she had just stopped by on her walk. Azami said Darius was his absolute favorite character. Azami explained that Darius was a priest by day but at night he led the vigilante corps. He handled the shady work the knights couldn't cover, so even Alan relied on him. Despite his double life seeming scary, he was really kind to women and kids. Letitia mentioned that Darius had called her corrupt and a witch and a bunch of other things. Azami was shocked, insisting Darius would never say something like that, and asked if Letitia was making fun of his favorite. Letitia thought that just like Alan-sama, Darius had also drifted away from his original character. Azami called out Letitia's name angrily. She ran off, saying she had promised to stay quietly in her room and had just come out for fresh air. Letitia wondered if the game was starting to break down in all kinds of places. Alan was at his desk, noting that the crime rate had been going up and wondering why fewer requests for patrols and security were being sent to the Knight's Order. A subordinate came in saying he had some questions about a report Alan sent. Then someone announced that Sir Darius was there to see him. Darius walked in and greeted Alan casually, saying it had been a long time. Alan asked what he wanted, noting that word was the Knight's Order had had way too much time on its hands lately. Darius said he wasn't there on business. Alan asked if he came all the way there just to say that. Darius told Alan that it was his fault. Darius explained that lately the esteemed Knight Commander had been so busy chasing after some woman that he had been slacking off at work. Because people didn't trust Alan anymore, the Vigilante Corps had been getting more jobs instead of the Knights. Darius added that they weren't wrong about that. Darius said that if Alan was letting some foolish woman lead him around, then he mentioned that he had met Alan's fiancée and that she was exactly what the rumors said. Alan told him not to talk about her like that. Darius remarked that the rumors about Alan going soft were true. Darius said he couldn't care less about Alan's love life, but because of it, they were the ones overworked and struggling. He told Alan not to let him down, addressing him as Knight Commander. Letia was at a social gathering, boasting to other ladies that Prince Liebel himself had proposed to her and that her beauty was really a crime. The Crow noted she was on fire today. Alan appeared nearby watching her. Letia complained that it had been such a good offer, but Alan ruined it, and that if he hadn't interfered, by now she would be sober. They both stopped and stared at each other. Letia told herself there was no need to be afraid and that she now had proof that her wicked woman act was definitely working. She greeted Alan, acting surprised to run into him. She accused him of stalking her and said the Knights must have way too much free time. Alan turned and walked away without a word. The Crow pointed out that it looked like Alan had finally lost interest in her and that at this rate she should be able to break off the engagement without any trouble. Letia weakly agreed. She thought that the Alan-sama from the game was finally back, and if things kept going like this they should be able to keep the kingdom from being destroyed. But still, as she watched Alan walk away, Letia looked unsettled. Alan told Azami that she was the one he was meant to be with. He called her name and said he loved her. Azami was thrilled, celebrating that she had finally cleared Alan's route. She noted that his affection was tough to raise, but she was glad she got the happy ending. Azami felt bad for Letia getting dumped, but then paused and realized something. She said Letia was Ian, and then shouted me. Letia woke up in her bed, startled. Alan was at his desk working through a massive pile of documents. He told a subordinate that there was nothing left to reply to that week and asked him to bring next week's pile, saying he would knock it out while he had time. He then asked about a subjugation report, requesting real numbers. The subordinate thanked him. Alan looked serious. The subordinate noticed that the captain was working faster than usual today. Alan went out to train with his men. He told them not to forget what they learned and not to slack off on training. The knights responded with "Yes, sir." Someone told everyone to line up because His Highness was there for an inspection. The prince said he was always grateful for the knight's service to the kingdom. He warned that monster numbers near the border were rising and they might get sudden subjugation requests. He told them to stay sharp and ready to move. The knights responded with "Yes, sir." Alan asked the prince why the sudden inspection. The prince said he had heard about Alan's recent work. The prince told Alan that word was he was so focused on duty that he was neglecting his fiancée. He said he figured he would see for himself, especially since the girl from the rumors was there today. Alan noticed Letia and Azami at the knight's barracks. Azami asked what Letia had dragged her there to see. The prince asked what they were doing at the barracks. Alan told them to just watch. Letia called out to Alan, saying she came all the way to the sweaty, disgusting place just for him. She asked if that was how he treated his fiancée and demanded he at least pretend to be happy to see her. Alan sighed and asked if that was all. Letia looked stunned. Alan told her that if they were done he was leaving. Letia stared after him. Azami exclaimed that Alan was totally over her now and that was the real Alan, just like he should be. She added that now her harem plan was going to work for sure. Letia said what? Darius appeared and greeted Letia, calling her Alan's ex-beloved fiancé. He said he owed her an apology for what happened at church and that he felt kind of bad, wondering if he had been too harsh. He said he was just worried about the kingdom's knight commander, but it looked like he didn't need to be. Darius said he was relieved it was just a silly crush and that was the real Alan-sama. Letia agreed. Darius remarked that it seemed Alan had finally figured out what Letia was really like. Letia said he was right, and thought to herself that now she could finally be his fan. Alan reported that stable cleaning was done and told someone free to take the horses out while scouting since they hadn't been running enough lately. He then tried to give another order but trailed off. Letia was there with an old woman, excitedly ordering her to draw Alan petting the horse right now. The old woman said moving subjects were really hard to sketch but that she would love one of him on horseback too. Darius commented that it was easier said than done. Letia told Darius that if he wanted a picture he should just ask Alan himself. Darius said that was not possible. The old woman asked Letia to please beg Alan for her. Letia declared that there was no way Alan-sama would ever do something like that for her because Alan-sama hated her. Darius stared silently. The old woman timidly showed a composition and asked if it would work. Letia praised her, calling her amazing and a god-tier royal court artist. Letia went to a jewelry shop and asked if they had any blue gems that matched Alan-sama's eyes, gushing about how his eye color was so beautiful. Alan was there too, looking unamused. Darius watched from outside. He thought to himself that the rumors about them must have been true, and that maybe sapphire would be best or aquamarine could work. He mused about Latia's favorite color and wondered what was happening. He said she was a poor thing who didn't even realize she had been dumped, and that Alan had loved her so much but she just took it for granted. He guessed she would hug those jewels and cry herself to sleep. He said it served her right. Lydia went to a bookshop and asked for every paper with an article about the Knight Commander. The clerk noted it was quite a stack. Lydia insisted she would buy them all. She was happy they were all in good condition. Lydia asked Azami if he wasn't going to fangirl at all, saying Darius-sama was right there. Azami said he wasn't an analog nerd like her. Lydia then pointed out that his beloved Darius-sama was right there and he was just sitting quietly asking if he was okay. Azami told her to leave him alone, saying he was struggling with how the game and reality didn't match anymore. Darius was nearby watching. Two people gossiped about how Lydia was suddenly collecting articles about Alan-sama, and asked why since Alan-sama had been the one obsessed with Lady Lydia. They noted that somehow the two had completely switched places. Another person told them to keep it down. They said Lydia blew Alan off when he was chasing her but then suddenly flipped like this and wondered why she didn't seem hurt and why she was acting like she didn't care. Lydia explained to Darius that this was the role Lydia was supposed to play. In the game, Lydia was the one Alan-sama dumped. She said she was just a regular player who was head over heels for him and that was who she was meant to be in this world. Darius looked confused. Lydia said she had no reason to be hurt. Darius started to ask her something but before he could finish someone called out to him urgently. A messenger arrived with an urgent report. The monsters near the border had multiplied and nearby villages were getting hit. The knights were putting together a subjugation squad. Lydia whispered to Azami, asking if this meant what she thought. This event existed in the game, but originally the local militia was supposed to lead and the knights just backed them up when asked. Azami confirmed that normally this would be a Darius-led event but this time Alan-sama's squad went ahead. They had lost contact with Alan's squad. Lydia and Azami were shocked. Lydia cried out Alan-sama's name in alarm. Lydia announced that Alan was missing. Darius called him an idiot. Darius ordered his men to move out. Lydia begged him to take her with them. Darius asked what exactly a pampered princess who couldn't even ride a horse was supposed to do and told her she would just slow them down and to stay home where it was safe. Azami told Lydia that if they got dragged into that mess they would be the ones getting hurt. She suggested they just do what they were told and sit this one out. Lydia called Azami's name, then said she needed a favor. Darius told the knights to lead the way. Lydia appeared on horseback, dressed in riding clothes, and said she could ride. Darius told her to be ready to move if she was coming. Lydia begged Darius to let her go. She promised she would stay somewhere safe and not get in his way. Darius warned that if a marquise's daughter got hurt, they were finished. He told her that if she couldn't keep up, they were leaving her behind. Darius shouted for them to go. They rode out at full speed. They arrived near the border area and Darius asked where the advance squad had entered the forest. Someone said it was by a house over there where a path led straight to the border. Azami recalled that at that path, a choice appeared in the game but one of the paths was the wrong answer. The path was blocked by a landslide and they couldn't get through. Lydia told Darius to take the detour by the stables, saying they could loop around from there. Someone confirmed that she was right and there was a path there. Darius ordered them to move out. Azami was shocked, wondering if Lydia remembered everything from this point onward in the game. They rode through the forest in a carriage. Darius asked Lydia if she remembered every single choice and told her that if it was all in her head she should tell him everything. Azami was shocked that he asked for everything. Lydia declared that she was not going in until she knew it all. Azami said she did remember but tried to protest. Darius told her not to bother because it was pointless. The crow appeared and told Lydia she didn't need to go. Lydia was surprised, asking if the crow had been there the whole time. The crow said it took her long enough to notice. The crow told her not to throw away the distance she had finally put between herself and Alan, and that this was Darius's problem. If Darius was handling it, they would be fine. The crow told her to just leave it alone. Someone called out that the road was splitting and asked which way. Lydia told Azami to hurry up and tell her. Azami said she got it, but started to object. Lydia cut her off, saying that in this broken world, nothing was guaranteed. Azami told them to take the left path at the first fork. She said going right would just lead back to the forest entrance. The left path followed the river. Darius agreed, saying to follow the river and it would take them toward the border. Someone asked what Lydia was talking about. Darius ordered them to go left. They kept riding. Darius wondered how a marquise's daughter knew her way around a random forest like this. He thought it was like she was predicting everything. They made it through and spotted Alan and his squad in the distance. Darius called out to Alan. Alan looked annoyed, clicking his tongue and calling it a pain. A large monster bird appeared. It was a Schnellbird. Darius said it was too far for a clean shot and that its hide was thick. Lydia told Darius to take a bow, saying that holy water worked on Schnellbirds and that its weak point was something she was about to describe. She handed him a bow. Someone recognized it as a royal issue weapon. Lydia told Darius that the arrowheads were coated in holy water, and to hit the monster with them to create an opening. She told him he could do it. Darius said he didn't love being ordered around, but if their prophet said so, he would trust it. Latia was caught off guard by the word prophet. Darius drew the bow. Latia shouted to Alan that once the monster lost its balance, he should hit it hard. She told him not to mess this up. Darius fired the arrow and hit the Schnellbird. The monster staggered. Alan rushed in to attack. Latia shouted for Alan to aim for the white marking on its back. Alan struck the Schnellbird down. He clicked his tongue in annoyance. Latia rushed over to him, calling his name. She told him thank God he was okay. Alan stared at her. Latia caught herself, realizing she had only meant to help a little but had gotten way too involved. She thought about what a proper villainess would say right now. She told Alan that for the esteemed knight commander he was pathetic, struggling with a monster like that. She asked if the country was even safe with him leading the guard and said that being engaged to such a pitiful excuse for a man was humiliating. She was visibly shaking while saying all of this. Alan called her name softly. He pulled Latia into a hug, saying she came because she was worried about him. Azami was stunned, shouting that he was back to normal. Latia protested, saying she thought he hated her now. Alan, still holding her, said he never said that. He told her that even the way she kept throwing little tantrums was cute. Latia told him to wait. Alan said he had been forcing himself not to worry about her, but he was done with that. Latia was shocked. Darius told Alan that he hadn't gone soft at all and said nice job. He and Alan agreed that it had been a while since they fought together like this. Darius then addressed Latia as prophet and told her she was not just some noble lady, asking what she really was. Latia begged him to please drop the prophet thing. She didn't want Alan to know about any of this. She noticed Alan was already staring at her like he was onto something. Darius said that wasn't suspicion, but before he could finish his thought, Alan asked since when the two of them had gotten so buddy-buddy. Darius said he was just jealous. Latia realized she could use this situation. She declared that she and Darius had become such close friends. Both Alan and Darius reacted with surprise. It was the Kingdom of Cantiana's Foundation Day. A shopkeeper was selling a special replica bracelet said to have been given by the first king to his queen, available only on that day. Someone asked to take a look and the shopkeeper agreed. Latia appeared at the shop and the shopkeeper recognized her, calling out her name in surprise. He mentioned that he had been hearing rumors she had been fooling around with guys lately and asked if she was cheating with some rich boy again today. Latia tried on a bracelet and asked how it looked on her. Darius was with her, looking miserable. He said it looked fine, he guessed, and asked what he knew about jewelry. The shopkeeper was shocked to see Father Darius. Latia noticed Darius didn't seem into it, so she decided to pass. She called out to the shopkeeper. The shopkeeper asked which bracelet the two had been looking at. He pointed it out. Alan appeared in the shop, disguised in a cloak. The shopkeeper was shocked it was Alan Sama. Alan looked at the bracelet and thought to himself that this was what Latia was into. He thanked the shopkeeper anyway. The shopkeeper wondered if Alan was stalking Lady Latia. Latia spotted gorgeous flowers and exclaimed about the rare colors, saying they were perfect for someone as mysterious as her. She asked Darius which one suited her. Darius sighed and asked if he could just pick any one of them and be done with it. Latia whispered to him to at least pretend to care a little. Darius said he did care. Latia called him hopeless and squeezed his arm. Alan loomed behind them, watching. Latia noticed his tailing skills were obvious. Darius shook his head and told Latia he thought they had played around long enough. He reminded her that he agreed to go along with this charade in exchange for answers. They moved to a spot far enough away from Alan. Darius noted it was something Latia didn't want Alan to hear. He told her it was time for answers. Latia turned to the crow and asked if it was okay to tell Darius a bit. She asked the crow, but it appeared to be asleep. Darius asked why she was talking to her pet. Latia said the crow wasn't exactly a pet. She asked the crow that if she was about to say something she shouldn't, to please stop her. Darius was silent for a moment. Latia told him that the rumors about Latia the Villainess were something she herself was spreading. Darius covered his face, saying it made him feel like an idiot for believing them. Latia then told him that if she ended up with Alan, the kingdom would get destroyed. Darius asked if she knew it sounded crazy. Latia said she did. Darius said he didn't think her prophecy was fake. He said he thought the prophetic power she got from that bird spirit was worth trusting. Latia thought to herself that she had skipped too much and now Darius had it all wrong. The dove had just showed her the future and didn't give her any powers. Azami-san was the one who actually knew the game. She thought about her past life in otome games and realized there was no way she could explain all that. She told Darius she had answered his questions as promised and asked if he would help her at least for today. Darius told her not just today, he would help her from now on. Latia was shocked and asked why. Darius said he may not look it, but he was devout. He said that if a spirit and a prophet were trying to protect the kingdom, wanting to help wasn't that weird. He added that Azami-san and himself couldn't mess with the knights or vigilantes on their own. Latia was excited to have him on their side. Latia asked for his help. Darius agreed, telling her he was counting on her. Alan watched them from a distance, wondering what they were talking about. Azami thought back to how she had brushed Latia off when Latia tried to explain that the date was just to make Alan Sama lose interest in her. Azami admitted that feelings for your favorite don't just vanish overnight. and she couldn't stop thinking about it, so she came to spy. She also said she could live with her interpretation of Darius being wrong. She spotted Alan in his disguise and called out his name, saying it was the worst disguise ever and asking if he seriously thought he was being sneaky. Alan told Azami to please not let him be spotted. He figured that if he couldn't even hear what Latia and Darius were saying, he might as well retreat. He then wondered if they had made eye contact with Latia's group. He said hey to get Azami's attention. Azami looked around and found he had vanished. Alan grabbed Azami. She shouted for him to let her go. He told her to keep it down or they would hear them. He asked if she was the apothecary's girl. He said he had seen her hanging around Latia lately, and asked what exactly the two of them were plotting. Azami said she wasn't sure what he meant by plotting. Azami had no clue what Darius-sama was talking about. Alan told her to cut the innocent act. He pointed out her way of talking and how she acted, and asked if she really thought he wouldn't get suspicious. He asked what she had been putting in Latia's head. Azami said that was pretty harsh. She told him she was just helping Latia, and that Latia was the one coming to her for advice. Alan asked what kind of advice. Azami thought she couldn't exactly tell him it was to break off his engagement. She told him it was way above her pay grade. Azami suggested that if anyone was whispering in Letia's ear, he should be looking at the crow. She said Letia told her it was some kind of spirit. Alan looked at the crow and said it apparently only talked to Letia. Azami noted there weren't any spirits in the game. Alan said that meant it really was some kind of monster. Alan said it was too bad he couldn't hear what the spirit was saying. Letia came over and confirmed that she was the only one who could hear it. Darius and Azami were surprised. Alan grabbed the crow. Letia shouted for him to wait and cried out for Mr. Crow. Alan told Letia that the thing was a monster and not to let it trick her. Letia asked what he was talking about. She demanded he let the crow go. Letia then asked Azami if she had said something to Alan. Azami apologized. Letia asked Mr. Crow if he was okay. He let out a caw. The men said that he looked like a regular crow to them, and Letia was asked to translate. But then it dawned on Letia, she couldn't understand him anymore. Letia thought to herself that she could no longer understand Mr. Crow. She asked him what was wrong and if he was feeling sick. The crow had turned back into the usual dove and fell asleep. Letia told herself that she had to keep it a secret. Mr. Crow told her not to give them any more information and also told her to stop calling him a dove. Letia rushed out, telling everyone that Mr. Crow had suddenly fallen ill. She said she was worried and needed to get a doctor for him right away. Someone asked if spirits even see doctors. Letia excused herself and left. Mr. Crow found it strange that the dove was still not up the next day either. He wondered if a spirit could even get sick like a regular animal. He noted that he had never seen the dove sleep before, and he had never seen it eat either. There was so much he did not know. Letia decided she would at least get some water ready. Letia called out to a maid and asked her to bring some water in a small dish to her room. The maid was confused. Letia did not recognize the maid and asked where her usual one was. The maid explained that her usual maid had gotten sick the day before. Her arms and legs were paralyzed and she was losing consciousness. Letia was startled by the symptoms. Paralyzed limbs and loss of consciousness sounded familiar to her. The maid then told Letia that she had a visitor, and asked if she should bring her in. The maid said it was the girl who had visited once before. Azami arrived looking shocked, asking Letia why she was hiding at a time like this. She pointed out that usually she did not even have to call Letia because Letia always came running over on her own. Letia asked what had happened. Azami asked how the crow was doing. Letia said he was not doing well. Azami said she had been hoping the spirit might know something, and then asked Letia if she had ever heard of white poison disease. Letia recognized it as an illness from the prince route in the game. In the game, one day Azami's parents got struck by this mysterious sickness. To make the cure, Azami figured out they needed a golden herb, but the herb only grew in the royal gardens of a foreign kingdom. When the prince found out what happened, for Azami's sake he negotiated with that country and got the herb. Letia realized that in the game only Azami's family got sick, but now other people were getting infected too. She recalled that the monsters in the Borderlands event and the white poison disease event were only supposed to trigger when your affection with Darius or the prince was high enough. On top of that, the scale of events kept getting bigger. Her maid's symptoms matched the disease, and the dove still would not wake up. Letia wondered if this was a sign that the kingdom would really be destroyed. She decided that thinking about it there would not help. She told Azami to stay with her family and said she would handle getting the golden herb somehow. She added that once she had it, she would need Azami's help again. Darius noted that Letia wanted his help with this too. He suggested that it would be faster for her as a marquise's daughter to pull some strings. He warned her that there was only so much his vigilante corps could do, but said he would do everything he could. Letia explained that she had already asked merchants who traded with that country and every doctor and apothecary in the kingdom if they knew how to get the herb. Without the dove's guidance, even Azami was at her limit. Darius said he thought Letia could just use her prophecy power to fix things. Letia replied that all she really had was a little influence. She planned to use everything she had, and the more options they had, the better. Darius remarked that even if she could predict things, she could not stop what was going to happen. He said that if he was not the only one she was counting on, that was a relief. He agreed to help out, though he muttered that it was easier said than done. Darius walked away wondering how they were supposed to get the herb. His vigilante corps did not have the pull for diplomatic negotiations. The foreign country was one of the most defense-focused in the region, so sneaking in was not realistic either. He thought about the royal palace and the golden herb and called it a pain of a job. He then started to say something about an idea he had. Alan in armor appeared and called out to Darius. Darius said he would like to hear more. He asked what Darius was sneaking around and digging into. Alan asked Darius if he could just pretend he had not heard anything. Darius said no and that he would not drag Alan into it. He said he would ask the prince about the herb. He explained that the last thing they needed was to make the other kingdoms suspicious by acting shady around their borders. He added that if they wanted something, it was better to ask openly. Besides, he started to add something else. Alan said that the golden herb was what Latia and the others had been running around looking for. Darius confirmed it. Alan said he had heard about all of it, the unexplained illness and Latia and her friends' movements. He already knew they were not ordinary women, but he had not expected them to know about the cure for the disease too. Alan told Darius he was not going to explain the details. Darius asked what details. Alan said that once he had the herb he would send it Darius's way. He also had one more request. He asked Darius not to tell Latia that he had helped. Darius asked why not. Alan said that Latia would not be happy about it. Darius remarked that the two of them were such a pain. Latia confirmed to Azami that the symptoms of paralyzed limbs and loss of consciousness were just like in the game. As for the cause, Azami explained that in the game if you bought some weird fruit from a traveling merchant, the heroine's family ate it, and that triggered the Prince Route's event. But none of the people who had collapsed ate anything suspicious. Letia called that part a mystery. Someone called out Letia's name. Darius arrived and announced that they had got it. Letia was surprised. Azami confirmed that it was the golden herb. This was the only rare ingredient they needed and everything else was available. They had enough for everyone. Latia told them to start making the medicine right away. She thanked Darius. Darius looked caught off guard and said he had not done anything. The medicine they made began glowing. Latia was amazed, noting that a medicine that shone gold was just like in the game. Azami said it looked like they had just enough for everyone. They began administering the medicine to the sick people. One of the patient's fingers twitched. Latia suddenly collapsed. Azami called out her name in shock. Latia said her legs had just suddenly given out. Alan burst in shouting that something terrible had happened. He saw Latia collapsed on the ground. Azami was shocked to see Alan there. Alan looked at Latia unconscious on the bed. He recognized it as the white poison disease. Azami noted that he already knew about it. She told him that they had used every last drop of the medicine. Alan said it had become quite the problem. Azami said that everything had come together smoothly thanks to Latia setting it all up, and now Latia was the one who had collapsed. Azami pointed out that if they started over even with the guild's help there was no telling how long it would take. She said she would get the ingredients. Alan told her he would have everything by tomorrow. Azami asked what he was talking about, explaining that they needed fangs and scales from high-ranked monsters. Those usually required a whole party to take down, and going solo would be suicide. There was also a rare herb called golden grass that was basically impossible to find. Alan said he had already arranged the golden grass. He told her he would be back once he had everything. Azami was confused. He stated that he was not leaving Letia like this. Letia found herself in a cold, dark place. She was all alone and there was nobody around her. It felt just like before. She wondered if she was going to be alone in this world too. Someone called her name. Letia noticed that someone was there. She wondered if they were calling for her. She asked if they would stay with her. A hand reached out and grabbed hers. Letia woke up to find Alan holding her hand at her bedside. He asked her how she was feeling. She asked if everything was all right. She recognized Alan and said his name. Alan exclaimed that he was relieved. Letia was shocked by the situation, wondering what was going on. She told Alan to let go of her and told him to quit squirming. Alan told her she was still recovering and to stay put. Letia felt dizzy. Alan told Letia that she had run herself into the ground making medicine for the white poison, so she should take it easy. Letia noticed that he looked terrible and asked what had happened to him. Alan told her not to worry about it. He told her to get some more sleep. Alan said he would come by tomorrow. Letia, still looking dazed, called out to him. Letia panicked, wondering what she should do since Alan was coming. She realized she had totally forgotten to act like the villain and had just gone along with everything. She told herself that if he came again she had to shut this down. The dove was still out cold so she could not count on him for help. A maid announced that Alan was there to see her. Letia flinched. Alan greeted Letia and said she looked way better, calling it a relief. Letia told him that she did not remember inviting him and asked him to please leave. She added that if she kept seeing his depressing face while trying to recover, she might collapse again. Alan remarked that she seemed healthy enough to go out. Letia was confused. Alan picked her up in a princess carry. Letia protested, asking him to stop picking her up like she weighed nothing. She yelled at the maid to help her. Alan told her that he had already spoken to her family. Letia told him to at least put her down if that was the case. Letia called him a kidnapper. Alan told her to stop pouting. She demanded that he put her down. Alan said he could not risk her bolting. Lydia pointed out that they were in a carriage, so where would she even go? Latia asked where they were going. Alan said they were almost there. He told her it was a place just for her. Latia asked if it was for her. Alan said they had arrived. Alan offered to carry her. Latia insisted she could walk. They arrived at a beautiful garden. Alan explained that the garden belonged to his family. The gardener had told him that everything was in full bloom. Latia noticed her favorite flowers, soft purple primroses. Alan asked if those were all flowers she liked. She confirmed they were. Alan told her she had told him that 10 years ago, he remembered watching her happily name each flower, and so he had decided to make this place somewhere she could feel at peace. Alan called her name. Alan told Latia he was glad she was safe. Latia thought to herself that he had made all of this for her. She realized that Alan really did love her, but to her Alan was still just a favorite character. She repeated to herself that he was just a favorite character, but then questioned whether that was really all he was. Lacia snapped herself out of it, telling herself not to get swept away. She told Alan that taking advantage of someone fresh out of a sickbed to hit on them was low. Alan laughed and said it was a relief that she had the energy to insult him. He said that compared to seeing her lying there like a broken doll, this was much better. Alan told Latia they should head back. She asked him to please stop carrying her already. Alan told her to give it up. Back at her room, Latia was surprised to find Mr. Crow had returned to his crow form. She exclaimed his name. Mr. Crow greeted her casually. Latia told him she was relieved, saying he had been out so long she thought he was sick. Crow apologized and said stuff had come up. Mr. Crow asked if anything had happened while he was out. Latia nervously started to explain what had happened, then told him that it all worked out so he should not worry. Mr. Crow stayed silent. He then announced he was heading out for a bit. Latia called after him in confusion. Mr. Crow muttered to himself that he had screwed up. He wondered why everyone had gotten better. He repeated that he had screwed up and said the boss was going to have his head. Latia stared blankly with a dazed look on her face, recalling Alan hugging her and telling her that he was glad she was okay. She let out a sigh. Azami called out to her, asking if she was even listening. Latia quickly apologized and admitted she had been spacing out. Azami brought up where this whole thing had started. She explained that in the game, it all began with some shady item called mysterious fruit. Latia reminded Azami that she was the one who had said she had to come along for this inspection in the first place. Azami continued, stating that in this world, everyone who got sick, including Latia herself, did not remember eating anything like that. Latia asked if it had just appeared out of nowhere. A young man named Darius then asked how the investigation was going. Darius told them not to sweat it, saying he was just doing his job with the Vigilante Corps. Latia apologized for dragging him out there to keep watch. Azami began acting sneaky, her eyes darting towards something outside. Latia loudly asked Azami what was wrong and why she was being so sneaky. Azami shushed her, telling her she was being too loud. Latia then said that more importantly, she kept seeing a certain thing and wondered what it was. Azami privately thought that she did not know how to handle a favorite character who was nothing like she had imagined. Darius looked out the window at a shabby man with long hair standing in the garden below. Darius asked Latia if she knew that sketchy guy over there. Latia looked confused. The shabby man suddenly raised a bottle and cried out Letia's name. He lunged toward the window, shattering the glass. Darius shouted out, wondering what the hell was going on. Darius grabbed the shabby man's arm and demanded to know what the bastard wanted. The man, still reaching for Latia, told her to go back to sleep. He told her to just stay quiet and then he would not have to do anything else. Latia was caught off guard, wondering if the man was really after her. She asked him who he was, muttering that this shabby guy looked familiar and telling herself not to let it be true. Azami suddenly collapsed. Latia called out to her in alarm. Azami weakly recognized the man, calling him Craft Sensei. Darius commented that everyone was being so chaotic and asked Azami if she was okay. Craft was locked up behind bars. Latia recalled that his full name was Craft Felton and that he was the heroine's mentor character in the game. During the white poison disease event, he had helped develop the cure. He was supposed to be a reliable, handsome older guy that people could count on. Azami sighed and wondered why he was like this. From the cell, Craft told Latia to go back to sleep. Latia thought to herself that he sounded as if he had already put her to sleep before. Darius then held up a bottle and said the test results were back. Just like they had thought, Craft had white poison on him and Darius wondered if the thing he had been holding might be it. Latia repeated his words, asking what he meant by just like you thought. Darius told her that Craft's name had already come up in the night's investigation. Alan was checking out Craft's house on his own and should find something useful. At the Felton Villa, Alan looked through papers while Craft's parents stood nearby. Alan noted that Craft usually holed up at the villa, which meant he was likely acting alone. He thought that there was no point digging around there anymore and that Craft's family probably did not know anything. As Alan was leaving, Craft's family asked if Craft had caused him any trouble. Alan replied that nothing was confirmed yet and that they were still investigating. Just then, a loud bam sound came from somewhere in the house. Alan asked if they had just heard something, but the parents said they had not. Alan noticed a strange smell in the air as well. Back at the jail, Darius told Latia and Azami that it was no good because Kraft would not talk. Whenever they asked him about the disease or why he had attacked Latia, he just shut down. Darius suggested leaving the rest to the knights. Darius said that since the kid was right, there was nothing else they could do right now. Latia spoke up and said she wanted to talk to Kraft herself. Darius told her that he could not recommend a face-to-face meeting when she was his target, but if she really wanted to, she could wait until Alan got back. Latia agreed. Someone suddenly rushed in shouting Darius's name. Darius told the newcomer that there was a lady present and that he should at least knock quietly. The man insisted that this was not the time for that and reported that they had just got word that Felton Manor was on fire. Latia, Azami, and Darius arrived at the burning Felton Manor. A knight reported that the master, his wife, and the servants had all made it out safely, but there was still a problem. Darius held Kraft back, shouting at him to stay put. The knight revealed that Alan and the two kids were still inside. Kraft muttered that it was his fault those two were in there, saying it was because he had screwed up. Latia watched the burning manor carefully. Azami said that it would be fine because this was not the kind of game where people actually died. Latia turned to Azami and asked her to lend her ribbon. Confused, Azami let out a surprised hum as Latia tugged the ribbon from her. Latia began walking toward the burning manor. Someone asked if she was planning to go in there and told her not to say that was her plan. Latia replied that she would not do anything reckless. Hands reached out to grab her, with Darius shouting her name. Voices yelled that she was not going anywhere and that going in was reckless, while Azami insisted on coming too. Latia pushed forward into the burning building. She thought that it was so hot she could barely breathe. Somewhere in all the smoke and fire, Alan and the others were trapped. She heard a faint voice calling out Sama. Latia called out Alan's name. Alan was holding up fallen debris with his arms, shielding the two children beneath him. He was okay. Someone called out that they needed to get out of there now. Outside, the two rescued little brothers were named Sarah and Kai. One of the boys cried out, "Big brother," as Kraft called out to them by name, shouting Sarah and Kai. Alan stood beside Latia covered in soot and remarked that he had not thought the investigation would turn into this mess. Latia teased Alan, telling him that for a knight commander he looked pretty filthy and covered in soot. She let out a small foo-foo laugh and asked if he could not handle something as simple as a rescue more gracefully. Alan shot back that coming from someone lecturing him with that face, it did not pack much punch. Alan then pulled Latia close and told her that he was sorry for making her worry. Latia thought to herself that this was bad because she was getting worse at pretending. Someone suddenly called out to her with an up. Kraft approached Latia and thanked her for saving his little brothers. He told her that he would never forget what she had done for them. Latia then told Kraft that she needed to ask him something. She said she wanted to know about the white poison disease and why he had attacked her. Lydia asked Kraft directly if someone had ordered him to do it. Kraft reacted with shock. Lydia reminded him of his earlier words about not having to do anything else, telling him that meant he had not really wanted to do this. She demanded that he answer her. Kraft finally responded, telling her that the boss said she was in the way. Kraft called out her name, Lydia. He then delivered the message that she was not needed in this world. Kraft finally broke down and agreed to talk, saying okay, he would talk. Alan confirmed that was what the so-called boss had told him, referring to the line about Lydia not being needed in this world. Darius pressured Kraft, asking if he felt like talking now or if they should start the interrogation from the top. Alan told the two little brothers, Sarah and Kai, to go back to their mom and dad. The boys cried out, asking where he was taking Big Brother. Alan promised that if they played nice, no one would give them any trouble. He then turned to Lydia and told her he would walk her home. Darius stepped in and said he would escort Azami instead. Azami told him that was not necessary. Alan asked Latia if she realized someone was trying to kill her. Latia said she would have an escort carriage too, so she would be fine. Later, in a carriage ride with Azami, Latia admitted she could not think of anyone who would go by boss, and that she did not know who would be after her either. Azami asked if Latia was sure it was not just someone with a grudge for leaning too hard on the Villainess act. Latia brought up Kraft's words that she was not needed in this world. She wondered if by this world he meant the game world. If that was true, then this boss might be a reincarnator too. Azami exclaimed that another reincarnator was trying to kill her. She pointed out that sure, some players hated the villainous Latia, but enough to want her dead. Latia thought that maybe they were not after Latia, but after her as a reincarnator. She said that as far as she could tell, there were several possibilities. Latia laid out 3 theories. First, the boss was an in-game character with a grudge against villainous Latia, meaning she must have done something to seriously tick them off. Second, the boss was a reincarnator trying to erase villainous Latia out of hatred, possibly because they already hated Latia when they played the game. Third, the boss was a reincarnator trying to erase reincarnated Latia because she was in the way, perhaps screwing up their reverse harem route. Latia then pointed out that if they were hunting reincarnators, Azami should be included too. Azami told her to shut up and hushed her for being loud. Latia teased that the boss had the same plans as Azami did. Azami snapped back. Latia suggested maybe it was because Azami was still a kid, or the boss had not figured out she was a reincarnator yet. Latia added it was all just theory and she might be overthinking it. Azami stated that either way, someone was still after her. Latia said that once the knights finished questioning Kraft, she would speak to him herself. She noted that it did not sound like Kraft knew much. Alan thought that Kraft may have felt bad about the kids because he had been pretty honest during questioning. Kraft had only ever received letters from the boss and never spoken to them directly. Kraft had simply received orders from the boss to kill Latia and carried them out. They had threatened his family if he refused, so he made the poison exactly like they told him. The reason there were other white poison victims besides Latia was because people got caught up in testing how the poison worked. Apparently the boss had several lackeys, and they were probably the ones who broke into the clinic and spiked the drinking water to make Letta sick. Alan admitted they did not get any of the key information they actually needed on the boss. As for who the boss really was or why they were doing this, there was still no clue. Latia asked if she could take Kraft with her. Alan said there was some stuff he wanted to ask Kraft himself. Latia told him Kraft was under supervised custody and she had night business to handle, so she could not go with him. Alan firmly said no. Latia turned to Kraft and demanded to know if he was sorry for what he did. She told Alan she did not need his protection. Alan reminded her that she was the one Kraft had been targeting. Latia said that was enough, then told Kraft she would forgive him, so he was going to help her. Kraft enthusiastically thanked Latia and grabbed her hands, saying he would. Flustered, Latia said he should be the one thanking her. Alan then stepped in and told Kraft not to touch his fiancée so casually. Kraft protested, telling Alan to let go of him. Alan stated that Kraft was the one who needed to back off. Just then, a message arrived from Prince Silas requesting Alan's immediate presence at the palace. Latia was surprised to hear about the prince. Alan told Latia that if she insisted on taking Kraft with her, she should have Darius or someone reliable go as his escort. He told her he would not let her get hurt. He also told her not to dig too deep into this. Latia fumed that such concern was completely unnecessary. Later, Latia and Kraft were brought to a dress shop where Azami was waiting. Someone announced that their companion was ready. Azami thanked them and asked them to bring them in. Latia admitted it had been so long since she dressed like this and that it was embarrassing. Kraft said he did not like that his face was not covered. Azami told him it was fine and that he looked great. Latia thought to herself that this was what her teacher character was supposed to look like, wondering why he had ended up as that baby-faced shabby man. Azami collapsed on the floor, lamenting that her harem plan was ruined. Latia told her to calm down and that she was too loud. Kraft asked Azami about the letter she had received from the boss. Azami apologized, saying she did not have it anymore because it had said to burn it after reading. Latia had been hoping they would get some kind of clue out of it. Latia asked Kraft directly if that line about her being not needed in this world was from the boss. She asked about the boss, whether they seemed special somehow, different from normal people. Kraft said he did not know if this was what she meant. Azami asked what that was supposed to mean, like whether they were some prophet like Latia. Kraft revealed that the boss called themselves a messenger of heaven, and the one who'll set the world right. Azami wondered if that meant the boss was basically an angel sent to fix the world. Kraft repeated the messenger of heaven phrase. He explained that he had only gone along with it because they threatened him, but the others really believed the boss was a messenger of heaven. Azami remarked that calling yourself a messenger of heaven was basically a cult. Latia thought that with just this information it was hard to say if the boss was a reincarnator or not. Kraft muttered, "A cult." Darius then walked in. Alan was already gone. Latia asked Darius what it was. Darius said it was nothing. He then brought up that Latia had someone out there trying to kill her, and yet she was talking about calling off her engagement. Latia was caught off guard, repeating the words calling off the engagement. Darius said he could not help bringing it up. Darius asked why Alan and Latia were doing that. Latia stammered that there were reasons. Darius stated that the two of them looked like they were in love, and if that was the case, they should end up together. Latia responded that it was not that simple. Elsewhere, a cloaked figure bowed and apologized to someone. 3 hooded figures stood together. One said there was a chance the knights had found out about them. Another said that was not much of a problem anymore. One figure said they could not silence Kraft while the knights were watching him. Another told them to leave it, stating that Lady Latia's usefulness was nearing its end. Under the moonlight at a window, a woman with a book smiled and asked, "Isn't that right?" She then called out to someone affectionately, addressing them as "my darling." Latia sighed, feeling completely stuck. She thought that even if she tried to investigate this boss, someone like her only had so many connections. The knights had not contacted her at all either. She also noted that it was rare for Alan to go this long without a word. Just then, someone called out to her with a casual "yo." A crow appeared at her window. Latia excitedly greeted him as Karasu-san and asked where he had been and what he had been doing. Karasu told her it had been a long time. Latia asked if he had any idea how hard things had gotten while he was gone. Karasu answered that he had a few things to take care of. He asked what kind of things. Latia gestured that it was a long story. Karasu told her that as far as he could tell, she and Azami were the only reincarnators. Latia reasoned that having a third one would not be that strange. Latia then suggested that Karasu tell Azami and Darius more about himself. Latia told Karasu that if more people besides her could understand him, sharing information would be a lot easier. Karasu firmly said no. He told her he did not want anyone knowing more about him than necessary. Just then someone knocked on her door and told her to open up. Letia's mother stood at the door. Letia asked what she needed, saying she was rather busy. Her mother told her she was to attend the Thanksgiving festival at the palace that day. Letia recognized the Thanksgiving festival as one of the major games events. At the festival, a maiden of prayer was chosen from among the citizens to pray for the nation's health and safety. Letia thought that if things followed the game, Azami should be the one chosen as the maiden of prayer. Letia's mother pushed her, telling her she had only just recovered and that she needed to go and receive the blessing. She announced that the carriage was already prepared. Letia protested, saying she really did not want to wander around when someone was actively trying to kill her. Her mother told her it was fine and to just go. Karasu chimed in from the window that with this many guards at the palace, she would probably be safer there. Karasu added cheerfully that he would be keeping watch from outside too. Letia thought to herself that he was oddly cheerful today and wondered what he was planning. Letia thought about the situation, noting that the festival was a major romance event. There was even a special CG with the Maiden of Prayer in whichever character had the highest affection. She figured the festival was supposed to revolve around Azami too, so she wondered what would happen now. She also figured they could not just run it without the protagonist, meaning her. At the palace, Kraft approached Letia and happily told her that she actually came. Letia was surprised to see him and asked if it was really okay for him to be wandering around since he was under supervision. Kraft insisted it was fine. Kraft explained that he was allowed to attend since there were a lot of knights around. Letia asked how they were planning to start the festival with no Maiden of Prayer, thinking to herself that was supposed to be her. An announcement stated that there was a maiden. They had chosen a woman who had saved countless lives through her prophecies. Letia questioned the word prophecies. A woman with long hair stepped forward and Letia recognized her. She thought that was the heroine's best friend, Ilsa. But why was she here? In the game, Ilse was supposed to support the heroine emotionally but was never deeply involved in any major events. Ilse introduced herself, mentioning that she had been chosen as the Maiden of Prayer. She told everyone it was a pleasure to meet them. Letia wondered what the heck was going on. Alan then appeared standing next to Ilse. Letia wondered why Alan was there with her. Alan announced that there was something he would like to announce to everyone. Ilse then declared that she had been chosen as Knight Commander Alan's new fiancé. The crowd murmured about it, saying new fiancé and noting that Lady Letia was right there, commenting on Letia's recent reputation. Alan kneeled down and kissed Ilse's hand. Letia was stunned. She wondered if this world had completely gone off the rails. Letia had never heard of Ilse having any special abilities, and on top of that, announcing an engagement at this place with Alan as the groom was shocking. Then she laughed, thinking that at least now Alan and she could end their engagement without any issues. Letia thought that if this continued, the breakup event would happen exactly like in the game and they would avoid the worst route where the entire country was destroyed. After that, she just had to deal with whoever might be the Reincarnator targeting her. Azami suddenly grabbed Letia and shouted at her to hold it right there. Azami protested that girl suddenly changing like that and Alan doing a total 180 was all wrong, saying she was not letting some random NPC hijack her event. Letia asked Azami if she was really okay with this. Azami asked Letia if she was just going to give up on Alan. Letia replied that it was not about giving up. From the very beginning, this was what she had been working towards. Letia got into a carriage. She never thought the engagement issue would be solved this easily. Azami had looked upset, but Karasu was probably delighted. Letia thought that once everything was over, she could finally just live her life praying for her Oshi's happiness. She repeated to herself that yes, her Oshi's happiness was all that mattered. She recalled Alan saying her name softly, Letia. She remembered many moments with Alan, his concerned expressions, his touch, the times he had looked at her. In the carriage, Letia broke down crying as Karasu chuckled kukeke outside. At the palace, Ilse clung to Alan's arm, saying that everyone looked so surprised that Alan-sama chose her. She remarked that she was just as surprised herself. She asked if he had time after this because she would love to talk more. Another knight interrupted, apologizing and telling Lady Ilse that the captain had duties to attend to after this. Ilse said it was a shame and bid farewell to Alan until tomorrow. Alan walked away. In a private moment, he slammed his fist against a wall in frustration, cursing and wondering why he was even doing this. The news spread that Captain Alan had a new fiancée. People gossiped, saying he already had a fiancée and wondered what he was thinking. Still, they agreed that with Lady Letia's reputation lately, she could not really complain if he dumped her. Others mentioned that Alan-sama's birthday party was coming up soon and they would probably make it official there with the annulment of his engagement to Lady Letia. Letia sat outside with a teacup in front of her, her expression spaced out. Karasu asked what was with her face. Karasu told her that it looked like she would finally get out of that engagement in one piece and that she should be happy. It meant she had nailed the Villainess act all the way through. Letia thought to herself that they managed to stop the country from being destroyed and she should be happy about that. A maid then came up and told Letia she had visitors, saying Lady Azami and someone with her were there. Letia guessed it was Azami-san and Kraft, maybe. She told the maid she would be right there. Karasu questioned if she was still hanging around with those two. Letia replied of course, since they still had not figured out the boss thing. Karasu argued that the boss had not done anything since then and that Azami and Kraft were pretty sketchy too if they were talking about people she could not trust. Karasu asked if she trusted them more than him. Letia said that was not true. Karasu huffed in response. Letia said that was not how she saw it. Elsewhere, a fist slammed down as someone declared that was exactly why they could not accept this. Azami was furious, exclaiming that some girl who barely showed up in the game got to be the fiancé and on top of that, the Maiden of Prayer. Azami raged about who that girl thought she was, stealing the heroine's role from her. Kraft calmly suggested that maybe Ilse was glitching out too because of all these bugs. Kraft warned that if Azami kept yelling she was going to bother others. Azami said she knew. Azami then turned to Letia and told her she was just as bad. Azami asked if Letia was not even a little upset that Ilse stole Alan from her. Letia hesitated. Just then, Alan and Ilse walked in, greeting everyone pleasantly. Ilse smiled and asked if they were Lady Letia's friends. Letia was stunned to see Ilse there. Ilse explained she came to order a new dress, saying Alan Sama's birthday party was coming up soon and as his fiancé she had to look the part. Ilse approached Letia and said she was glad she ran into her because she had been wanting to have a proper talk with her. Ilse then told Letia she was sorry. She apologized for taking her Star of Hope. Letia said foo-foo and claimed there was absolutely no need to apologize. Letia forced a laugh and said she was having trouble figuring out what to do with him anyway, so if Ilse was willing to take him off her hands, she was more than happy to hand him over. Letia thought to herself that this was strange and wondered if pretending to be a villainess was always this painful. Kraft stepped in and addressed her, saying, "Then Letia." Kraft grabbed Letia's hand and said since her fiancé was gone now and he did not have one either, she should marry him instead. Kraft added that if he ever got married, he always thought he would want someone kind like her. Letia stammered, telling Kraft to hold on. Ilse smiled and commented that proposing in a place like this was so passionate, saying the two really did look good together. A shop attendant interrupted, telling Lady Ilse her fitting was ready. Ilse bid farewell and went with Alan. She told everyone good day. After they left, Kraft told Letia, "Come on, let's just go home." Azami wondered what those two were even doing. Kraft started to say that Ilse still had not answered about the marriage. Letia told him they would talk about that later. Meanwhile, Alan looked back with a troubled expression. Azami told Letia, see, I told you something's off. She insisted Alan definitely had not given up on Letia yet. Letia thanked Azami sarcastically for trying to cheer her up. Azami snapped that like hell she would waste her time comforting Letia, muttering that Letia was too kind. Kraft chimed in that there was definitely something shady going on this time. Kraft said he was with Azami on this. Letia called Darius over. Darius said to cut to the chase, this new religion that popped up lately had rung a bell, so he had some of his guys slip in undercover. He revealed that the boss behind the people who went after Letia was that Ilse girl. Darius explained that it turned out the one leading them was her. People said she could see the future, so her followers were totally obsessed with her, and she had been gathering believers crazy fast, so they had been keeping an eye on them. Letia realized that without a doubt, that woman had the same prophetic power she did. Kraft concluded that as they thought, Ilse was a reincarnator just like them. A reincarnator trying to erase another reincarnator. Letia asked if it was really just because Ilse wanted Alan. Kraft wondered if that was the case. Then hadn't Ilse already gotten what she wanted? Letia pointed out that Ilse had her beloved Alan Sama now, so there was no reason left to come after her. Darius said he could not say for sure. Darius explained that Ilse wanted to monopolize the power of prophecy. According to their so-called oracles, Alan was someone who would strengthen that power, so he was the Star of Hope she absolutely had to keep by her side. Letia reacted with a confused hum. Darius added that if Ilse knew what Letia could do, she might see her as a threat to her position as the one true prophet. In other words, Ilse did not want Alan out of love, she wanted him for herself. Letia noted that Star of Hope was a setting she had never heard of before. Azami spoke up, trying to say her name. Letia asked if that meant Ilse did not even really care about Alan Sama and was just using him to boost her own status. Letia muttered, "What even is that?" Azami called out to her. Letia declared she was obviously going to smash this stupid route to pieces. She asked Azami if she could borrow her brain for this and told the guys she was counting on them too. Kraft noted that Letia was the quiet rage type. Letia thought to herself that if Ilse could really save the country and if they truly loved each other, then there would be nothing left for this villainess to do. But if that was not what this was, that was a different story. This time she would be selfish as Alan's fan. Letia apologized for the wait and said she was ready to head out. She greeted the crow perched by the window and told it that it was time to go, calling it Mr. Crow. The crow asked Letia if she was really done with Alan. Letia admitted that getting dumped by her favorite hurt at first, but she just wanted to drop the villain act and chill. The crow responded that he saw and believed she had been through enough. At the party, Alan stood with his new girlfriend Ilse. The blonde prince with a scar over his eye approached them and congratulated Alan. Alan greeted him respectfully as Your Highness. The prince mentioned that he should have come to greet them himself. He then turned to Ilse and said she must be Lady Ilse. Ilse replied that it was an honor to meet him. The prince told her not to worry about formalities since she was the star of the day, saying they should skip the stuffy protocol. He added that he had literally just said they did not need the formalities. The prince then asked Alan what he was going to do about Lady Latia. Alan stated that he planned to settle it today. Ilse was thrilled and thought to herself that she was so happy he was doing this for her. At that moment, Latia arrived and greeted them sarcastically, calling Alan her ex-fiancé. Latia mocked Alan for bringing his new girl to the party while still inviting his ex, questioning whether the country was really safe with someone that clueless as Knight Commander. Ilse greeted Latia back with mock pleasantness, saying it was good to see the ex-fiancé looking great. Onlookers commented that they had figured Latia would be pissed after getting dumped, and Ilse noted that Latia seemed totally fine. Latia then asked Alan if he was just that much of a player. Alan stayed silent. Latia told Ilse that she had weird taste too and that only an idiot would let herself get fooled by a guy like that. Ilse shot back that every time Latia opened her mouth something nasty came out and that maybe getting dumped had more to do with that rotten personality. Latia asked if Ilse was calling her rotten. Ilse was caught off guard. Latia told her that was rich coming from her since she was practically oozing with ulterior motives. Latia added that she actually knew some pretty nasty rumors about Ilse. At that moment, the crow on Letia's shoulder spoke up and called her name. The crow scolded Latia, asking what she was trying to pull by showing up like this. He told her to just quietly accept the breakup, saying it was not exactly rocket science. The crow reminded her that if those two ended up together, the country would get saved and she would be free from playing villain. He told her to shut up and behave. Latia grabbed the crow's beak and told him he was getting loud. The crow was stunned. Latia apologized but told him to keep quiet for a second. She made it clear that she had not given up on saving the country, but that girl was dangerous. Latia stated that stopping this engagement was probably better for the country too. She asked Ilse if she had heard about the fire at the Felton estate. Latia mentioned that there had been talk of arson, but with no witnesses seeing anyone suspicious, the investigation had hit a wall. Latia continued that recently they had found a hidden passage near the manor leading to some ruins. Ilse thought to herself that they only found it because she remembered the game's setting. Latia revealed that those ruins had become a meeting spot for some sketchy little cult. Latia added that the cult's leader was said to be a young woman who claimed she could see the future. Ilse denied it, saying that Latia was practically accusing her of being that leader, and asked if that was not a bit much just because her fiancé was about to dump her. Latia responded that she would never call it just paranoia. She said that once they caught one of the believers using that passage, they spilled everything. Ilse reacted with a sharp click of her tongue. Latia mentioned that she had recently caught something called white poison disease. Investigation had shown it was a man-made toxin. In the burned ruins, they had found what looked like part of a recipe for white poison disease, along with a plan for getting Latia to drink it. Latia said that she had drunk it without knowing anything and dragged other people into the mess, but she had always been the real target. When she tailed some clinic workers, one had headed for a cave and tried to destroy evidence, and it turned out they were part of that same cult. Latia laid it out as a group targeting her, a prophetess as their leader, and Ilse, who stole her fiancé, and asked if Ilse really thought that was all just a coincidence. Ilse started to say she had nothing to do with it, but Latia told her it was way too late for that. Latia said that by now every single one of Ilse's followers was locked up. Ilse gasped that it could not be. Alan asked if Lady Ilse had really done that to Lady Latia. Ilse on the floor thought desperately that the Holy Maiden would never do such a thing. Latia told Alan that he really had awful taste in women. Latia told Alan that if he was going to get a new fiancé, he should pick someone better. Ilse begged Alan to help her, claiming Latia was trying to frame her out of jealousy. Ilse insisted that Alan had chosen her and that Latia was the one who got tossed. She told Latia to stop spouting nonsense and hurry up and get lost. But Alan told Ilse that the one leaving was her. Ilse looked up in shock and asked Alan what he meant. Alan held up a document and declared that Ilse was under arrest for masterminding the arson and white poison disease incidents. Latia and Ilse were stunned. Alan told Ilse that getting close to her had just been to gather intel, and the whole fiancé thing had been an act. Ilse wailed that if she had him, everything would have worked out, calling him her star of hope. Alan responded that he was never anything like that. Latia realized that Alan had known everything about Ilse from day one, and that everything she had told him came from the Night Order reports. She thought to herself that was how it was. Ilse collapsed and insisted it was a lie, and that this was not how it was supposed to go. Ilse cried that everything was supposed to go exactly how she wanted, and repeated that it was wrong, it was all wrong. The prince stepped in and told Latia to take it easy. Latia approached Ilse and called her name. Ilse whimpered that she was a prophet and was supposed to be chosen, asking why she had to go through this. Latia then asked Ilse if she was a reincarnator too. Latia said that Ilse must have seen her, another reincarnator, as competition. Ilse looked confused and asked what a reincarnator was. Ilse was bewildered. Latia asked if she really was not one, and then how she could see the future. Ilse answered that the white bird told her everything. Ilse said the words "the white bird." A hand held a strange white creature with a single dark eye, the true source of Ilse's visions. Latia and Alan were caught off guard by the sudden statement. A white bird suddenly flew in through the window. Ilse's face lit up and she called out to it, calling it Birdie. She said it had come to her and begged it to save her, calling it her god. The white bird coldly told Ilse that it had been wrong to choose her and that it never thought she would be such an idiot. It said she had ruined everything. The onlookers were shocked that the bird talked and noted that it had been black just a second ago. Letia thought to herself that she had known something was off about it. Alan stated that the bird really was some kind of monster. The bird huffed and flew off. Ilse began apologizing over and over, whimpering that she was sorry and calling out to her god. Letia addressed the bird, calling it Birdie, and asked what it had been going on about. She asked if all of Ilse's prophecies had been from it. She accused the bird of sicking Ilse on her and then pretending not to know anything while staying by her side. Letia demanded to know how long the bird had been lying to her, even about the destruction of the kingdom. Ilse muttered no way in disbelief. Letia scoffed and asked if all of that had been a lie. The bird protested, asking what she was talking about, insisting that the kingdom would fall and that was why the two of them had to break up. The bird asked Letia if she was telling it that she did not believe it. Alan pulled out a dagger with a sharp click. A small girl named Azami stepped forward and explained that there had never been any spirits in the game, so she had always wondered what the bird really was. She revealed it turned out to be the navigator sparrow from the game. Azami remarked mockingly on the word mere navigator, asking why a mere navigator would go that far just to split those two up. The bird insisted it was not trying to break them up, but that they were supposed to break up, which was the right outcome. It argued that a game where the knight captain ended up with the Villainess would never work. Azami admitted that was fine, but still. The bird declared that it was not giving up, but that there did not seem to be any point in it staying in the kingdom anymore. The bird flew off. Letia called out for Birdie to wait. She caught up to the bird and told it to answer her question. Letia told the bird that she had believed it because she thought everything it said was for the kingdom. She demanded that if everything it had told her and done until now was a lie, then why was it so obsessed with keeping the story on track? The bird flew out the window and escaped. Alan ordered his knights to track where the bird went and then take Ilse into custody. The knight responded, "Yes, sir." Alan later told Letia that in the end it seemed Ilse had only been used. He mentioned they could not get anything on the bird's goal or where it had fled to. Alan apologized to Letia. Alan explained that he had pretended to be Ilse's fiancé to get information out of her and had ended up pushing Letia aside because of it. He told Letia that she was the only fiancé he had. Letia responded that Alan had only done his duty and had nothing to apologize for. Alan then said that with that said he would like the blonde prince to pose as Ilse's fiancé now. The prince looked super annoyed. Letia told him he did not have to act like he was in love, just stand there and look the part since it was only a cover. She said it was written all over his face that he hated it. The prince responded that he would do the job properly. The prince muttered that Letia did not have to say it out loud and commented that to think the bird had been the one pulling the strings. Azami mentioned that she had heard the crow might interfere, so keep it in check, but nobody had mentioned it could talk like that or change its form. She asked Letia why she had not told them what that bird really was. Letia replied that it had told her not to blow its cover. Azami shot back that Letia had let it fool her the whole time anyway and asked if she was stupid. The prince then asked Letia and Azami if he could ask them something and asked just what the two of them were. He mentioned that Letia seemed to have the power of prophecy, and Azami knew things like the cult's secret passages that no normal person should know. He stated that the two of them did not seem ordinary at all. The prince continued that they had been calling themselves Tensisha or something, and asked if that had anything to do with this. Letia nervously asked if they had said that out loud. Azami looked panicked. Letia addressed Azami, but Azami freaked out, asking what Letia was talking about and if she was insane. Azami warned that once they blew their cover, it would mess up the full conquest harem ending. Letia said that if they were going to help them, they deserved to know. Letia asked Azami if she was still hung up on that and declared they would tell them everything. The prince asked what Letia meant by full conquest, whether she meant these three men. Azami silently sized up the three men with thoughts like literal child, out of character, ride or die Letia, and wrong vibe. Azami concluded that if it was just these three, she guessed it was fine. Letia thanked Azami for understanding. One of the men confirmed what Letia was saying, that the two of them knew what would happen in this world because they already knew it as a story. Letia responded that was right. The blonde prince said it was hard to believe, but if that was true, then Letia's prophetic power must be... Letia cut him off and told him to hold on a second. She explained that it was not really a power, she just happened to know the answer. The prince muttered that he had seriously thought he had finally found something worthy of his faith. Letia thought to herself that priests were such a hassle. Letia continued explaining to Alan that basically she and Azami even knew exactly what to do to make him fall in love with them. She told him that knowing that he should really think about whether he could still love someone like her. A knight rushed in with a report for Captain Alan. He reported that regarding the white bird, once it crossed the border, they had no choice but to abandon pursuit. Judging from the direction it flew, they believed it had headed to the kingdom of Shriya beyond the mountains. Letia said she had never even heard of the kingdom of Shriya. Letia asked Azami if there had ever been a kingdom called Shriya. Azami replied she had no idea. Letia muttered, "Huh." Azami then revealed that there was no such country in the game.